Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast. My name is Emmett. Please stay with us for inspiration and motivation.
I want you to think about your dream because I'm in a room full of dreamers. Think about your dream right now. I want you to think about it and envision it.
Number one, disgust. Disgust is a negative emotion, but it can have a very positive, powerful effect. Disgust says, I've had it. What an important day that could be. Decision-making is a life-changing day. If you went home today and in the next few days cleaned up a list of decisions, it could furnish enough inspiration for the next 5 years, 10 years. Third one, desire, wanting to bad enough. Who knows the mystery of that? We don't know. But here's something I do know. Sometimes desire waits for a trigger, waits for something to happen. Resolve. Resolve says I will. Two of the most powerful words in the language.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast. I am your host, Emmett Muckles. I have with me Stephanie A. Watson, who is the CEO of DZS Events. That's David Zeta Sam Events, just for you guys to know. And she's also the CEO of D3P PR. I'd like to welcome Stephanie A. Watson to the Billionaire Lifestyle Show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
You're
welcome. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
No problem. You're a really busy woman. I mean, I came across you, I believe it was probably 2010. And at that time, I had a entertainment company, and I was doing a lot of events in the suburbs and for politicians as a disc jockey and a speaker sometimes, and also just with events. And I came across you because you were doing wedding shows at the time. And since then, when I see people who are being progressive about their life and helping other people, I pay attention to them. And I paid attention to you all this time, and we've also traveled in the same circles. Can you give me a little bit of history about what made you want to become the person, that puts forth so much great energy?
Well, my company is DZS Meetings and Events. So I actually plan meetings, events, corporate, social, as well as fraternal or either events that are celebratory in nature. And as it relates to the PR and marketing, I concentrate on public relations, marketing for entrepreneurs, as well as social media engagement and management. What I started doing was, essentially, I've been in business for 20 years. I worked full-time in the pharmaceutical, medical industry doing marketing, sales, things of that nature, where I would do project management, project design for different companies and organizations that I worked with in the for-profit and nonprofit sectors. While working, I decided that I wanted to start my business 20 years ago. So I worked full-time while running my business, planning events, and doing PR contractual work for companies and individuals and organizations.
Okay. So
that's where it kind of started.
That's where you say kind of started?
That's where it kind of started. It officially started at Western Michigan University when I was a student there going to school for organizational communications and journalism.
Okay.
And I started working on campus for the Black Americana Studies Department, planning meetings and doing travel arrangements for the visiting scholars that would come up from one of the chairman's departments.
And college is a good, if you do it right, which I don't see many young people doing today, which is internships and just volunteering their time and just being involved, you can gain a lot of exposure and a secondary education on what to do once you graduate. But how did that transition into, was it an immediate transition, or was it kind of throughout, a couple of years where you kind of got your footing and you started to see where you wanted to go with it?
Well, actually, it was maybe 5 years after I graduated. I was working, and, once you've started working, trying to determine what exactly it is you want to do after you graduate, you kind of go in a few different directions. I always knew that I wanted to work with my degree in organization and communications and journalism. I knew it would be in a professional capacity within an organization, be it for-profit or nonprofit. I knew it would be where I would utilize my communication skills, be it broadcast journalism, written or spoken. I knew that I would be able to do that. So once I got settled in at my first job, I worked in the healthcare arena for Hospice of Michigan in the corporate communications and marketing department. And it just so happened that they had the development department within the same area that we worked. And that department put on the Crystal Gala Ball fundraiser for the nonprofit organization. So I kind of moved my way into that and started working with them. Shortly after, I determined that I wanted to start my own business, and I started by planning weddings and social affairs, and then moved it more into the direction of all events, be it corporate or social.
So let me ask you, as you've progressed through the years, I'm sure you've seen people who think that starting a business is kind of a part-time thing and they don't take it seriously. What's the difference between the people that you've worked with that stick and the people that don't kind of, progress forward?
Well, some of the characteristics of what I would consider a go-getter consist of a person that has tenacity, they have drive, they have consistency. That person also is willing to invest in their professional development. I actually trained through my company, the Workshop Suite, and that's where I help entrepreneurs and anyone that's interested in event planning or the business arena to do best practices in their business. And what I do is I show people, how to work within your business where you're going to make sure you get your education, where you're going to garner your skills, where you're going to further your education in that, and where you're going to learn how do I market myself, it's not necessarily a business plan,
Okay.
but it's everything but the business plan. Okay, because people will write a business plan forever. But a lot of people, once they finish, they have no idea what to do, much like when they graduate from college. They've paid all the money, they've done it, I did it too, and then you get out there and you're like, hello, is somebody there? So what I find as it relates to circling back to your question, the characteristics, number one, it's the person who's willing to invest in their development.
That's
secondly,
good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, what advice would you give someone who's starting out now? Because, we have a generational gap between millennials and the generation that came prior, which I fall within. And, things are very expensive, and there is a attitude to strive or try to get as much capital as you can and follow a path. But a lot of people seem to be kind of reserved, and they don't know what first steps to take to move towards their purpose, that thing that drives them. What would you suggest?
Well, first, one must sit still. Oftentimes, people are all over the place. They want this, they say they can do this. They must first determine, is it something they can really do, is it something that someone else said they can do?
Good point.
Because people are notorious for saying, well, they tell me I'm good at this, or people say that I'm good at that. And I get people to come to me all the time, and I just sit patiently, and then I ask them, but what do you say, and what are you willing to do about it?
That's awesome.
Because you can talk all day, but actions speak louder than words. And the first thing I tell them is, you want me to help you? Are you willing to pay for it? Because you pay for college.
That is so very true. So you're going to pay for something either in monetary equity or sweat equity. And it just depends on what you want to invest in yourself. That was a good point, and I like the way you framed that for the audience. That was really good.
Well, thank you. Another point that I wanted to make while I was saying that is that oftentimes I'll ask people, I say, and this is something to think about. If you want to do something, do you want to do it as a hobby, or do you want to do it as a business? Because realistically, I tell them, you may or may not even gain a profit, and if you do, it may take 5 years or more.
That is true.
Are you willing to lose for 5 years? And if they say, well, I don't know, I just want to make some money, I'll tell them, well, what you must think about is if you're not willing to spend money on yourself, why are you asking people to spend money and give it to you?
That's true. Actually, my accountant said that at one time. Said, look, he said, you have to make a decision. He said, you can either do this as a hobby that you get paid for, or you can do it as a business. But if you're going to do it as a business, there are some things that you have to learn about the finances and the entity of a business, because it is a representation of you that is typically can be seen as a non-physical. But a lot of people don't understand that when you go into business, a business is its own entity. It has to pay you and it has to pay itself to thrive. Are these some of the things that you are teaching in your seminars and workshops? Because I see that you have many workshops and events that you've done in the past.
Well, yes, my workshops are for entrepreneurs in general, be it an event planner, be it a person starting their own business as a caterer. I've helped people that were caterers. I've helped people that were authors. I consult with people that are life coaches and show them the ins and outs of it. So quite often, individuals have to kind of know what direction they want to go in.
Do you find that to be a commonplace with people that are looking for help? They just don't know the exact direction. They don't have the total vision that they're looking to move for, and they need your help?
I do, but it's much like when you first go to college, and we're back on this education thing for those that do that, or once a person graduates from high school, you're in the dark. You don't know what direction to take. So some people get stagnant. Some people take off like a racehorse. But anything that is done properly via planning, and it's done in its proper time. You have to move slow and steady and go at a steady and slow pace.
That's what I always say. How does an ant eat an elephant? One single bite at a time.
It doesn't, period. He better go in and find a picnic to go to.
He
may wish to do.
It's funny because we are both native Detroiters, and there's a statement that's going around Detroit, and I've seen it, which it says Detroit hustles harder. And if you look at, I like this, IMDb, you'll see that there are a lot of people that come out of Detroit and do really great things. So Detroit is a great breeding ground for entrepreneurs and people who want to get things done. Who else are you working with that we may see in the future, or that's doing some things such as writing or whatever it may be?
Well, I currently have a client that I've had for over a year now, and her name is Tanya R. Bankston, and at Coach T. Bankston is her handle. I handle her PR, her social media, and she is up and coming. When I started with her a year ago, she is a certified life coach, a certified leadership coach, and a certified solutions-focused coach. So if you can imagine, I actually help her with her business accoutrement, in addition to handling her PR and media marketing. And what she is doing now, and I'm so proud of her, she went from kind of, having a few clients to having a plethora of clients. She's going to speak in Rochester, New York. So she's a speaker on a circuit. She's spoken at a leadership conference this year. She spoke at one of the churches here. She spoke at, she's on her way now to go speak for something called Womb Sisters, and it's about women overcoming men blues, and she'll be speaking in Rochester, New York, but she's also a co-author. So this is a client that I saw that I would say her brand that I helped her build or educated her on building it as well. I would say if it was at 30%, once she's worked with me, she renewed a contract, and she's now at, I would say, at least an 85 to 90% return on investment.
Very good.
From working with me. So I'm very pleased. When people renew your contract, that means something. Sure, I'm an event planner. I do PR, but I'm also a professional speaker. Actually, just a plug here, my website is stephaniespeaksinternational.com. So I also go on, I speak and educate people on the platforms of do-it-yourself PR and marketing for entrepreneurs, business, as well as event planning. So and business etiquette. Those are some of my major platforms that I've spoken on. in various locations.
And see, everybody, this is why I had to have this wonderful woman on, because
Thank you.
she is. It's not one area where you will find your success. It's not one area. You have to put all your irons into the fire. And I like to say it like this: God let me exploit my own talents, because someone else can exploit them, but you won't feel the fruits of those labors. And you are, delving into your talents, delving into your passions, and bringing them out and helping other people in the process as well. I know you're a very busy woman, and I thank you so much. The interview is not over. Can you give everybody your some other methods to contact you, such as Facebook and Twitter?
Well, I have a couple of handles. And this would be, let's see, one of the ones I'll share with you will be Ms. Savvy PR Events, and that's M as in Mary, Z as in zebra, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, V for Victor, Y, PR for Public Relations, Events. So again, that's at Ms. MZSAVVY PR Events.
Don't worry,
I'll
put it in the show notes just with a link so that people can click upon it and go right to it as well.
Well, wonderful. So that's one of them, and that is on, and that's my PR and event handle for Instagram and Twitter. And then I have DZS, David Zeta Sam, meetings and events. And that can be found on Instagram. Also located on Pinterest, Ms. Savvy PR Event. So we have Ms. Savvy PR Event and DZS meetings and events. So those cover the gamut of the major services that I do offer. And I'm pretty active on social media, and I do train and teach people how to hashtag, how do you build your followers? How do you engage people? As a social media engager, I educate all my clients on those types of things, or just an audience that may be interested in something like that. So that's the best way to reach me on social media. And on Facebook, Stephanie Anitra Watson. And he'll be putting this information in the notes as he indicated. But you can also find DZS meetings and events in your search. I have all kind of websites too. He'll give you that too. You guys.
You said
Stephanie Speaks International.
There's no way people cannot find you, is what you're saying.
No, and that's good. Google yourself sometimes, people. Stephanie A. Watson. And make sure your LinkedIn profile is something that people care to look at.
That's a very good point, because prior to starting this interview, I kicked off this podcast with just kind of a mission statement of what I'm about and what the podcast is about. And it's really about when I named it the Billionaire Lifestyle, because people say that about me. They're like, hey, man, how do you do all this stuff? And first of all, I had a conversation with God some years ago, because I said, I want to change my life. Here's the vision, God. If it's your will, let it happen. And it's funny, whatever you ask God for, you have to be prepared to receive. And so
that's true. He's a blessing.
Yes, but my life changed. It's hard to even say 180, because it seems like 180 and then it flipped upside down again. But all the things that I ask for, sometimes you don't know that you have them until you look back and say, wow, I have what I asked for. And you have to chronicle this. But that's one of the biggest things. You have to mentally and verbally say it into being, which is some of the things that I do regularly, even in this state of affairs. What do you have coming up, or what are you working on now?
Well, I actually just booked a new client. I'm just pretty excited, because my true love is doing project management, events, things of that nature. And I just booked, matter of fact, this evening at a very palatial location, a 40th surprise birthday party that one of my clients is doing. It's a minimal number of guests, but it's going to be a formal white glove service birthday celebration. We're going to have music, lighting, and maybe some draping. It's going to be a very, very nice holiday event at a Four Diamond property.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited about that because it lets me end the year with a bang. My birthday's in December too, so it's just another excuse for me to piggyback my birthday and somebody else that doesn't mind spending a penny or two
That's all
when
right.
it comes to their loved one. Yeah, so I get to plan this event for a person who the budget is not necessarily an issue, which means I can pull out all my creative juices and not have to be stopped with monetary concerns,
So,
which is a blessing in itself.
in doing events, I was a part of the wedding and events in the entertainment field, and one thing that I noticed, I saw it go from a kind of a simple affair to where people would have dinner. They would probably do some dancing. They might have some speeches or some congratulatory things, to these affairs where they are just, I mean, even the most modest people are having uplighting, they're having video, they're just doing it really large. How are you seeing that? Is that helping your business, or do you see that much? How is it changing? Because I haven't really been in the entertainment side of it for probably 3-4 years now.
Well, I haven't either necessarily. I've been doing more corporate and contractual work as it relates to medical meetings and conferences and expos on a more larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was finding is it was getting where people were having a desire to have certain things, but then not necessarily having the money for it. And my thing is I can do an event, be it social or corporate or a wedding or what have you. I can do an event with various budgets, but I just was finding that a lot of people weren't being really realistic or would want to spend their money and say, well, I want this, but I don't have any money. That's like saying, I love you, but you've negated everything you've said to me. I've been around for 20 years, so I work with people who you don't necessarily have to be a millionaire, but you can't come to the table and have nothing or have $2 and then want $20 worth of service or have a pipe dreams. We just can't do that. You know, you hire a professional, you have to pay a professional because the results are as such.
So do you think that's the result of the media, things that people are seeing in the media where they're seeing these extravagant events, and they think that's the norm, and that it's just kind of a throw in? You know, like for instance, once upon a time, a wedding was 4 hours, and then they started adding cocktail hours. So then it went to automatically 6 hours, and the events just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you find that people are expecting more things just because it's the norm?
Well, yes, a lot of people, they get off track of reality sometimes. And then there's people that don't get off track of reality and they understand it. And not necessarily just weddings, because this can be any type of event. You know, people will have a preconceived notion of what something should cost. But if that's not your area of expertise, that may not just be so. A thought on something is not necessarily reality, so it's always good to have a professional because we can do things, you know, such as contract negotiate, help look in the direction of whatever fits your budget, help bring to reality what your dream is. And sometimes when you have a professional, we have relationships. We can get discounts for you. We can sometimes come up with an idea. We can also, if a person doesn't need a discount, we can also take away the stress by going to the location, doing the contract negotiation, doing the logistical planning and design, working with the decorators and designers, and do the talk or the type of communication that needs to happen for the vision to come to fruition.
Yeah, you know, because a lot of people don't realize that when you try to put something together from scratch, it's a lot of footwork and it's a lot of time. And when you hire a professional for your events, especially if you're not ingrained in doing these kinds of things, it can save you a lot of emotional costs.
Well, yeah, it can, and people don't realize, you know, just because you have to have the skill. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't try to go under the hood of my car and take it to the mechanic and I pay the mechanic. I'm not a graphic designer, so you don't see me putting pen to paper and trying to create a flyer. I pull out my wallet and I pay a person to do it. You can't be all things to all people, so you must do what you're properly trained to do. I didn't just come out the gate and say, hey, I'm going to plan events. I'm going to plan all types of events, weddings, corporate affairs, social, I'm going to plan those type of events. I went to school. I had a degree. I worked in nonprofit, for-profit. I did it on my job. I did it off my job. And I have the education to back it up. So you have to be able to say, hey, I can do something, and my services are as such that someone can pay me. So when you go to other people and you say, hire me to do this, you have had people who have paid you to do it, and that's what makes you a professional versus the person doing it as a hobby based upon what you like or other people say that you're good at.
Okay, we got about a minute left because I want to, I want to be respectful of time. And here's one thing that is particularly in today's society. We are in a culture of a sharing economy, but we're also in people who are just trying to get it done, and they will lowball with giving the client the expectation that they can bring the same quality as someone of a higher value. Have you seen that, and how do you talk with clients during the sale to say, hey, look, this is what I have, here are my credentials and things like that? Or what mechanisms do you have in place?
Well, typically what I'll do is I talk to people, I'll have a consultation with them, but when people come, prior to setting up consultations for any types of services, be it PR, marketing, consulting on business or what have you, I'll let individuals know what my range is for my services.
That's good.
Right off the bat. Because the bottom line is, if that's uncomfortable for you, it's probably best that we don't continue to communicate about something that won't come to fruition.
And that was awesome.
As a professional, thank you.
That was an awesome statement.
And if you asked me to repeat it, I could.
No,
but I know what I'm talking about.
You know what you're talking about. You know how to convey it too.
Thank you so much. It's you get what you pay for, and what happens is, if a person says, well, I'm not going to pay that, or yes, I will pay it, people pay for what's important to them.
That's true.
And we can put that in 500 air quotes. People pay for what's important to them, and then they make excuses about the rest. When you come to something or someone that you must pay for that. So when a person, I don't do the lowballing. I don't do the, can you give me a deal on it? Essentially, if there's someone else doing something, I say, here's my credentials. Here's the results of what my credentials have done. Here's what people have said who have paid me to do it. Most importantly, you should be able to point to testimonials, and my testimonials come from people not only in Michigan, they come from people that are in Bermuda, they come from people that are in New Orleans, New Jersey, Illinois. These are people who have worked with me or taken my trainings, and so I have pages full of testimonies, along with the locations from where they are. I've worked with people where I've never laid eyes on them. Just via the telephone, they've talked to me.
So let me ask you a question. If someone was starting today, doesn't matter what it is, you're talking to someone who is looking up to you saying, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Where would you say they start?
I would start by doing an assessment and having them explain and sell to me what it is. Because no matter what you do, you have to, it's something to be sold, no matter what it is, a service or a product. So I would ask them, I ask strategic questions. I have a sales background. I used to also be a pharmaceutical sales rep for a major pharmaceutical company. So with the sales background I know how to ask appropriate probing questions that will lead me to questions that will go in the direction of where we need to venture off to with the client.
Good deal. Well, we're at the 33-minute mark, and I told you I wouldn't keep you very long because I know that you're a busy woman. So once again, let's give everybody your contact information for Stephanie A. Watson and your events and PR.
Well, essentially, the best way to do it is give me a call. I love to talk to people, and this is a good number that you can remember, and we can start at this. The first number that you should remember is 248-747-3482. 248-747-3482. That's the best number to reach me. And my email is dzs, David Zeta Sam, dzs@att.net. Those are the best two ways to reach me. And lastly, you can go to dzfeventdesign.com, dzfeventdesign.com. There's information on there how to contact me via email, of an inquiry form, and my number's all over. And most importantly, Google me, Stephanie A. Watson.
Awesome. This has been the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Emmett Muckles. Our guest today is Stephanie A. Watson out of Detroit, who is the CEO of several companies. And I mean several. She's a busy woman. And this is one of the important things that I wanted to do is I wanted to showcase a multitude and a diverse group of people, because one thing that people don't know about this country is that women make up a majority of the workforce, and that's just not in the forefront. It's also in the back and in the front side as well. So you can't discount women because they are making great strides and they're getting things done. Like they said, behind every great person, not just a man, there is a great woman. This has been a great time. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and Godspeed to you.
Thank you. God bless you, and God is the catalyst for all of my abilities and all of my talents. Thank you very much.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please do us a great favor. Go to iTunes or wherever you download this podcast. Leave us a rating. Come to the Billionaire Lifestyle page on Facebook. Or you can go to emmettmuckles.com. That's emmittmuckles.com for a direct download. But leave us some information. Let us know how you feel. Let us know how it sounds to you. Give us some critiques if if the voices aren't right, if the vocals, if the music's too loud, whatever it may be. We need your input, and we need to know how you feel so that we can keep promoting good things. My name is Emmett Muckles. Thank you for listening.